Hey there guys, welcome back to my blind playthrough of Ghostwire Tokyo, and we're currently trying to acquire lunar analysis data. And yeah, there's a lot to say right now about this game, and also about other things I've been doing on YouTube. But I'd rather save those tangents for later when I feel like there isn't anything to really discuss at the moment. But yeah, let's just continue on. I think most likely I should be able to get... Oh, there it is. Right here. Yeah. It's always the simple path. Every time. Oh, there's another side mission over here. Look at him. He's so determined to drain that spirit. He's not focused on me. Total spirit behavior right there. And even though the marker went red, I was still able to do the quick purge on him. Awesome. Yeah, good work, because Tango Gameworks actually knows how to display common sense with their gameplay. Oh, what's this? A Rando Seru. A backpack tailor-made for an elementary-age schoolchild. This particular style of bag is known as a randoseru in Japan, a name derived from a Dutch word for backpack. The initial design was based on backpacks used by soldiers. Since around 1887, leather backpacks like this have been the norm for school children all across Japan. So it seems like as I'm progressing through the story, these moments where you have to protect these cubes is happening more often. And why is that still showing up on the minimap? I wish these icons disappeared once you actually did them. I don't know why they still linger on the map. They fade out a bit, which shows you've done them, but it's just kind of redundant and it kind of clutters the map a bit. I mean, it's just a minor thing, not that big of a deal, but it's just preferable because you kind of mistake it for something that you haven't done yet sometimes. Oh, the Tengu. He's acknowledging the Tengu. That's what he's acknowledging. Is that supposed to be in reference to your Tengu watching, KK? Sadabur. That quote, if you don't know, is from Yakuza Kiwami. Kiryu says it whenever you taunt enemies. I don't know what it means, but I hope I said it for the right occasion. Wow, why are there so many wanderers up here? The Tengu like it here, but I wasn't expecting this many wanderers. They must like high places. Gotta get closer. Whoa. Whoa. Oh, I'm doing it through the geometry, cool. Whoa. Wanderers are pretty balanced on this game. I mean, they can be a random variable to consider in stealth scenarios, but they go down super fast. Like, they satisfy their role as a ranged enemy perfectly in this game. That is a ranged enemy done right. Like, so far I just haven't found a bad enemy. Like, Evil Within 1, none of the enemies were bad. But in Evil Within 2, the one enemy that was bad was the Hysteric. Because the Hysteric, it's not designed for combat encounters. And plus it has way too much life. Like, that enemy looked no different to the typical Haunted, but it was able to run so fast, it had the ability to cancel animations, it got so much range on its attacks, and it just had so much life. And anytime you shot the Hysteric, it had this counter animation where it would reel back and start charging towards you in order to hit you. And also, this enemy, you could not dodge it properly, or not really dodge it, you could not avoid its attacks properly, because like, if you ran right past it, before it had a chance to initiate its strike in the middle of its counterattack, it had the ability to twitch from one direction to another in an instant. So like, say for instance, it was facing in the north, well, that enemy could literally twitch and just face, like, south in an instant. That was one of the most broken parts of that enemy. But it was only bad during Chapter 10, when you were in that mandatory combat encounter. Oh dear god. That gives me a heart attack. Dropping off of high places like that, knowing I'm not gonna live. Oh hey, this is the place where that, march was. I still wonder what the whole point of that march was. It put me into that combat encounter, I died, but it didn't penalize me. It put me back into the world, and I wasn't able to access it. Oh, there's the march, there's the march! I want to do it. I want to do it right now. But let me do that. Oh boy. Let's see what's in store for us. Let's use fire. That's perfect. Oh shit! Shit! God dang. Oh, God. That's not a grab, it's just a literal strike move that they do when their hand glows purple. Nice. I kind of wish there was some other benefit to perfect blocking. I mean, if you have the upgrade where you can get ether when you perfect block, that's one incentive, but I'm not really finding other incentive to partake in the perfect block. It knocks back the enemy, but what good is a knockback if I can't really capitalize on it with ether? Like, what if I didn't have ether? I need to test out the perfect block when I get the chance. Gotta get closer if I'm gonna knock these guys over. There we go. This is going too well for me. I bet there's gonna be more enemies. See? I don't see the incentive to partake in the perfect block unless you have the upgrade. Like, the only reason you'd want to do the perfect block is to not take damage. And see, I knew it. I knew there were gonna be more enemies. I got a trophy, couldn't take the heat. I guess I must have eliminated an enemy using that gas tank. Should probably use, fire on these enemies right now. It's cool that you can actually sprint while charging your ethereal weaving. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on! Ah, dang it, didn't get it. Good. I need to remember my wire in ability. I haven't been using it much because I haven't found the need for using it. I see the enemies have limited range as well on their range attacks. I have limited range, so they should have limited range. Good balance right there. Bad move. This is grueling right now. Alright, screw it. Wire in. Come on. Yeah, this is the perfect opportunity to use wire in. But these enemies are very resistant to my attacks when I'm in wire in. Oh, whoa, what is that? That's a new enemy! Or a new variation on the, Student of Misery. I'm out. Dang it. Oh, there's another one! There's a spirit with a, green and red jacket. That one teleports. That's not good. Oh! That one's done. That one's the most dangerous so far if it teleports. Oh, good. That was grueling and hectic. So what happens when I do it? Oh, I get spirits. Hyaki Yako. Hyaki Yako are amalgamations of visitors. Should you encounter one, you'll be transported to an alternate dimension. Defeating all of the visitors will return you to Shibuya along with any spirits they were holding captive. Okay. So yeah, that was pretty hard. You just gotta learn how to use your wire in ability properly. You gotta know how to isolate the enemies. That's fun. This is a good view. This is nowhere near as large as those other buildings. That's surprising. Okay, send Ed the lunar analysis data. Okay, we put the phone back in order to pick it up. Yeah, he's not so sold on that idea.
結局何が重要だったんだろう。
放っとけ。あいつの中では重要だったんだろ。
Wait, Fallout 4?
あの月はどう見える
Oh,
月見そばの卵ってところだな。気にしても仕方ねえよ。
okay, so they have homages to other Bethesda products with those outfits. So given that we have a bit of a breather before we get to the next side mission, I'm just gonna go on a different tangent, and I'd like to talk about a couple of assholes who decided to act like the assholes they were, just with a complete sense of arrogance. So my friend had recently posted a video on Ninja Gaiden 2. It was a very short video. He's like, when Ninja Gaiden 2 is fun. And of course, like, we're good friends, so like, he's not so critical of things I say, and he understands that I do say these things as a friend. But I just voiced in that video because, like, he was killing like so many enemies just very quickly. Like, there were tons of enemies in Ninja Gaiden 2 when he was using, I believe it's the Ninpo, like some kind of a spell that you use to kill all the enemies. And, you know, I did voice that just enemy after enemy after enemy after enemy. This is meant to be fun. I'd succumb to boredom so easily with this mind-numbing experience. So, like, I said that in his video, right? And two other people, who I'm guessing are friends with the guy, but they clearly didn't understand that I was also a friend to him, they decided to act like the true Ninja Gaiden fan and just be all toxic to other people. And they were like, okay, this first guy is like, after reading that, I seriously doubt that you understand this game. Like, he's already jumping to that conclusion. Like, what does me saying what I'm saying have anything to do with me understanding the game or not? Looking at a section involving just tons of enemies being killed over and over again, and then seeing such superpowered abilities just being constantly used over and over again when they really seem to be warranted for like a single scenario, like they destroy the impact of such moves if you're going to be using them over and over again. And like Ninja Gaiden 2 in general, or like all these other Ninja Gaiden games, they just look so brain dead. And like people want to say, oh, there's a lot of complexity to the combat. Well, that's all well and good, but when you're having to like kill enemy after enemy after enemy, and the encounters just drag on for way too long, that's just a developer who doesn't respect pace, who just wants to drag out the scenarios in order to just like make the player feel bloodthirsty, and so adrenaline is pumping, this and that, and so therefore they don't understand that they could have easily done this section quickly had the developers had any sense of pace. And they actually had better respect for their game, but it's like the developers are just having to throw enemy after enemy after enemy after enemy in order to just force the player to indulge in their combat, this and that. That's at least what it came across as. But what does me saying what I'm saying have anything to do with me understanding the game? Like, it's no different to the likes of Resident Evil Village, for instance, with that Stronghold Lycan encounter and just the sheer volumes and numbers of Lycans that you deal with in that section, and the combat is crap. There's so much fatigue generated when you're just restarting that section over and over again, even trying to kill them, or like just in general dealing with the enemies in Resident Evil Village is a waste of time. And systems that worked properly in hardcore difficulty are just worthless now on Village of Shadows difficulty, and the game just doesn't understand like how to design its sections according with the true mentality of Resident Evil Village, and it's just like it doesn't respect the pace at all. Or it's just like Dragon Ball Z, for instance. Dragon Ball Z is a better example of this, because Dragon Ball Z is just hated by a lot of people for just having so many repetitive encounters, and the encounters drag on for way too long. The developers had no sense, and it just all sense of like excitement and value that those sequences had are just meaningless with how long they take to actually do. And it's just like the developers are so desperately trying to drag out the section just to create something appealing to the actual people watching it. I mean, the reasoning for this was because they designed Dragon Ball Z like not alongside the manga, so because the manga was still under development, they had to come up with new scenes, this and that. But still, though, why would you settle on dragged out scenarios to actually make it appealing to your audience base. And admittedly, there are people that like dragged out scenarios, and I'm just like, don't you people know how to enjoy the finer things in life? Don't you people actually understand the strength involved with brevity? Like, brevity is a skill, but it's like you so easily, like, discard, like, your previous time in that section. It's almost like, as they're going through the section, they're forgetting, like, the previous couple of minutes that they spent on that same section, and so it's still feeling, like, fresh in their mind, but it's like, how can you not succumb to fatigue so easily, this and that? But that's just what I feel with Ninja Gaiden 2 and the other Ninja Gaiden games. I just feel like people... It's just an overrated series. The combat looks so uninteresting, you're just spamming iframes like crazy, and then people want to say, oh, there's an understanding to it. It might seem like you're spamming iframes, so there's an understanding to it. But just continuing on with this, I then replied, I didn't ask for your opinion, because clearly he phrased that as a way to promote, like, contempt. Like, he clearly phrased that in a way that just is meant to inspire arrogance on his part. And he's seen me in, like, other videos that my friend has uploaded, yet somehow he didn't realize that, oh, I'm actually that same person. But no, he decided to act like an asshole, like the typical Ninja Gaiden fan. Like, there's a tangent I need to go on with regards to this. I even made, like, a brief statement regarding my thoughts on Ninja Gaiden and just why I don't want to be invested in that series. But, like, continuing on, the next guy is like, I'm positive nobody asked for yours either. Wow, yet another asshole, just acting like I'm just being so full of myself, I'm acting like some random person, just going onto videos and just leaving some, like, pig-headed, just, like, bullshit comment, this and that, just to be an asshole for the sake of being an asshole. And I'm just like, geez, you say one thing and people get all sensitive about it. That's your typical Ninja Gaiden fan. You will not believe the amount of people I see commenting on Ninja Gaiden, and they constantly say that, oh, your opinion doesn't matter. You gotta understand the game to actually form such opinions, even if the opinions or like thoughts you make have nothing to do with the overall game philosophy. But that's just how dense these fucking people are. Like, how retarded do you have to be to just favor such a pejorative approach, just to favor a very biased mindset, just to let your blind devotion to a game, blind common sense. Like, I'm devoted to Resident Evil, but I don't let that turn me into an asshole. I don't let that cloud my judgment. I don't let that turn me into an arrogant asshole. But it's clear these people don't have the sense of humility to even restrain themselves when making such dense comments like that. And then I also said, by the way, thank you, and this actually leads me on to a statement that I made in my notes section to actually externalize my thoughts so that I didn't forget them afterwards. And this is just a complete summary of my thoughts on Ninja Gaiden, and Ninja Gaiden players in general. Like, Ninja Gaiden players are arrogant with no sense of humility. Oh. What big painting? What's he talking about? Hanya's repeating the exact same quotes. I'm surprised he's doing that. I think he's just doing that to remind the player of the stakes of what's happening with the main game. But just to resume what I was saying about Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden players, they're pretty arrogant, with no sense of humility. They act like they're better than you because they act like Ninja Gaiden is the best game out there. This is another thing I don't understand, right? There's just something about Ninja Gaiden that just causes people to say, oh, it's the best game out there, as if it's somehow exceptional, yet its design philosophies, the strategies that you're supposed to implement, they follow a very similar kind of progression to other games out there. Just because it might present differently doesn't mean it's automatically not a part of that same kind of thought process and set of rules that you're supposed to follow with all games. And, like, just looking at my friend's gameplay of Ninja Gaiden 2, there are so many moments where he runs forward and then he runs backwards because he's just triggering a lot of these arbitrary spawns, waiting for the enemies to come to him. Then he's charging for an ultimate attack, and then he's just getting all those iframes and then spamming like OTs because like the enemies, they don't have any limbs, and you initiate OTs when enemies don't have any limbs by pressing triangle. But it's just you're spamming iframes like crazy. The combat is so over the top. Like, and like they just want to make the whole argument of, oh, because you're so overpowered, the enemies are able to be overpowered as well. But there is a fine line between an actual broken experience and an actual experience that actually feels like the developers are putting a leash on their creativity and they're not going so overboard on everything. Like, it's one thing to actually have the creativity to design enemies and scenarios and actually understand the pacing of your game, but to actually implement that in a way that actually feels like it's reserved and it doesn't feel so absurd, and you're not trying to use the whole argument of, oh, because your player is overpowered, we want to make the enemies broken, so that if you're broken, then the enemy should be broken as well. Like, just immediately going down that simplistic route is a great sign of just sheer ignorance and just a sign of weakness, if you ask. Not if you ask me, it's just true. That's just what it is. But, like, for some reason, Ninja Gaiden, because it has Ninja Gaiden in the name, it just causes people to be like, oh, Ninja Gaiden is the best. Like, you know, the other thing I don't understand is with Seraphim 17, right? You know, Seraphim 17, if he were to go to some other game and find broken designs and just boring sections and like, sections he doesn't like, he'll criticize the fuck out of them. I mean, sometimes he doesn't do it, though. Sometimes he's just a little too reserved on those thoughts, and I really don't understand why. It's like, for instance, in Call of Duty, like, oh, what's this? Ramune candy, or is it Ramine? Hard, sugary, bite-sized candy tablets. The high amount of glucose in them has the added benefit of enhancing brain activity and improving concentration. This makes them the perfect snack to enjoy before a long night of studying or work. Huh, never heard of that before with a candy. But Seraphim 17, like, there are objective issues with the Call of Duty series. There are bad sections. Like, Call of Duty just never changes. Call of Duty is always the game series that is just favoring very outdated, boring designs and broken designs, and the hardest difficulties are normally pretty shit. But Seraphim 17 never ever lashes out at the Call of Duty games. He just kind of goes with it, saying, "Oh, it's challenging." Like, I feel like in some cases he doesn't understand what challenge is. He doesn't understand good challenge. At times he can feel a bit like Lobos, for instance. But you know, like, he looks at games and he finds problems. But when he looks at the same kind of issues in Ninja Gaiden, for instance, he's so quick to excuse them, to call them bad, but they're not that bad. Like, it's some kind of bias generated on his part because he's just a Ninja Gaiden fan. Or, like, it's just, he might hate Ninja Gaiden, but because it's Ninja Gaiden, therefore you're supposed to look at the game differently compared to other games. Now, that's just the thing I don't understand, right? You know, he made a very similar case like that with Dark Souls. You know, people saying that Dark Souls is the hardest series there. Oh, Dark Souls can get away with all this because it's Dark Souls. Well, similarly, it just seems like Ninja Gaiden can get away with what it does because it's Ninja Gaiden. Because apparently it's this hard game ever, when a lot of the designs I'm just seeing in Ninja Gaiden 2 are just very lazy designs to create this false sense of challenge. And it's just they rely upon, like, spammy enemies, tons of iframes for your character, like, because of the fact that, oh, shoot, there's a side activity over here. I love the dynamic animation right there. Wow, there's no telling how many enemies you'll encounter when doing these missions. Ow! There we go. Whew, that was very close. God dang it. Shit! If I didn't hit him just then, I would have been fine. Wow, that was a lot more intense than the previous ones.
あんた何もしてないだろ。
いいぞ順調だ。
But as I was saying, guys, I just feel like Ninja Gaiden 2's developers, they use a lot of cheap excuses to actually give them the right to not really refine their enemies in the way that actually feels challenging. Just imagine what Ninja Gaiden 2 would be like if you didn't have the iframes and your abilities weren't so over the top and like they actually didn't try to just create such an absurd game. Like, what the hell are you playing at this point? Like, there's a lot of magic, there's a lot of, like, robots and all these kind of stupid stuff. I mean, yes, like, I understand it's because of the generation it came from where stupid stuff like that was actually apparent and, you know, they were, like, developers were always so over the top and everything. But it's like they use that as a way of actually generating a lot of intrigue, just appealing to the people that like old anime, for instance, or like the new anime, for instance, where anime is very over the top. They always introduce a lot of concepts. Developers just pull concepts out of thin air without really like integrating it in a way that's actually like logical and makes sense. But yeah, it's going back to what I was saying, guys. Like, the typical Ninja Gaiden player, they act like they're better than you because they act like Ninja Gaiden is the best game out there. And, you know, I even asked my friend this question, does he feel that Ninja Gaiden is the best game out there? And he says, no, I definitely don't feel that. And I'm glad that he said that. You know, I'm glad that he at least had the humility to admit that. And, like, he's not the typical Ninja Gaiden player, for sure, even though he does like Ninja Gaiden 2. But just typically, you constantly hear so many people saying that Ninja Gaiden 2 is the best game out there. Like, even Seraphim17 cherishes it, despite the fact that he says that Ninja Gaiden 2 embraces problems, and he'd much prefer God Hand, for instance. But he might be saying that, but I don't think he even believes what he's saying most of the time. I feel like, even though he is saying that, there is still the part of him that does believe that Ninja Gaiden 2 is the best. Because, like, so many people just overhype it. So many people call it, like, amazing, this and that, when it doesn't even look that exceptional. But, continuing on, guys. Like, everyone says, oh, you need to understand the game, otherwise everything you say is wrong. Like, I bet if they played the series, but Ninja Gaiden wasn't in the title, they would think differently. Because like I said, it feels like the actual name, Ninja Gaiden, promotes biased thinking. As if somehow, like, because it's called Ninja Gaiden, you have to therefore apply this, like, perspective that, for some reason, is so different with this game compared to every other game out there. And that right there is just very poor judgment. That right there is very biased thinking on your part, if you're going to be saying, oh, it's because it's Ninja Gaiden, or like because it's Dark Souls, for instance. Like, for whatever reason, because it's Ninja Gaiden, it's therefore unable to be criticized for objective issues because people will try to say, oh, do it this way, do it that way, you're crap, so get better. These issues are bad, but not that bad. Like, for instance, there was a part in Seraphim17's walkthrough of Ninja Gaiden 1 where he's talking about a fight with horses, and I've seen the fight with horses, and he's standing in the corner and using the ultimate attacks, and it's very clear that when he's doing the ultimate attacks and the horses aren't even flinching, and they're taking like 2 ultimate attacks to go down, like, throughout most of the game, enemies are flinching, but for whatever reason, the horses aren't flinching. Like, what? Like, you call that good enemy design right there, but Seraphim17 calls it not bad, and it's just... There are so many moments in the Ninja Gaiden series that I've actually watched where it really feels like the developers aren't comprehending their own designs. But if they are actually comprehending their own designs, then they must be seriously deluded at times. Like, I don't need to be a part of that toxic gaming community. It really feels like the community of Ninja Gaiden is the most toxic community out there in gaming history. And just the replies I got from those 2 people, and they were just saying the exact same thing that every single toxic Ninja Gaiden player says, further reinforces this notion, because it really feels like fact right now. Like, a community of bloodthirsty animals who don't have the basic thought process of feeling fatigue, who put themselves above others, who probably have very poor gaming palates and have no diversity, like, who display such a blind devotion to the idea of challenge, yet not understanding the intelligence behind the subtleties involved with the overall design of the game that leads to real challenge. Like, I know it sounds kind of confusing what I just said, but, like, when you're just so blindly devoted to a game, like, when you call a game good solely for the purpose of it being challenging, and you're not respecting the other aspects as well, or, like, even trying to indulge in the other aspects, then it just leads to a very poor perspective on the idea of challenge. And then you get people like Tynar, you get people like Edge Reactor, you get people like Best Gamer Challenges who think they understand the whole idea of a good challenge because they don't bother analyzing the other parts of the game. They don't bother they don't bother expressing proper normal human reactions. It's almost like their brains are mapped differently. It's like their plasticity is different. It's like their neural pathways are different. Like, there is a reason why pacing is an important thing in a movie or in a game. There's a reason why other aspects on par with pacing or with good game design in general, or with how sections are designed objectively. There's a reason why those are very important to actual good challenge, but I don't see that at all with Ninja Gaiden. I really don't see that with Ninja Gaiden at all. But just continuing on, such blind devotion to only the idea of challenge and nothing else will lead you astray and narrow your perspective, making you pig-headed and unable to appreciate different kinds of games. They're like, if these games don't have Ninja Gaiden's idea of challenge, they're automatically bad. That's what it really came across as when I was reading those comments, like on other videos, and also to those replies to my own comment on my friend's video. It really feels like if these other games that are not Ninja Gaiden, don't adhere to Ninja Gaiden's idea of challenge, they're automatically bad. And that's what I mean with the whole blind devotion aspect and the complete misunderstanding of the subtleties involved with the overall design of the game that contributes to the whole idea of a challenge, a good challenge. Not to mention that there is this huge stigma in the Ninja Gaiden community that if you're not doing no damage, you're automatically bad. Yet there are so many moments in the Ninja Gaiden series that just don't feel accommodating for the whole idea of no damage. And you just got lucky if you did no damage. It's no different to the likes of Resident Evil 6, for instance. There's a reason why I do no knife cube loss and not no damage, because there are so many moments where the mechanics betray you in Resident Evil 6. Or like, look at the moments in Call of Duty, for instance. Like, you take damage all the time in Call of Duty, but people aren't complaining about the whole idea of no damage in Call of Duty. Yet in a game like Ninja Gaiden that follows a very similar design format to Call of Duty, like, they both feel very similar in their inability to be designed for no damage. People want to say it's okay, it's actually good to do no damage in Ninja Gaiden. If you don't do no damage, you're automatically bad. Yet they don't say the same thing for Call of Duty. Like, what is so different about Ninja Gaiden that makes it different to Call of Duty or these other games where like, no damage isn't feasible, isn't practical, and it isn't worth your time? And if you're doing no damage in those kind of games, then you're not trying to accept the fact that the game is designed for a particular kind of playstyle that is not befitting for no damage. But it's like people are trying to create this new kind of challenge on their own with Ninja Gaiden, and they just want to say that's a standard, basically, for instance. Or it's almost like with the Survivors mode from Resident Evil 6. Survivors mode from Resident Evil 6 is the worst multiplayer mode I've ever played, and people hated it, that they tried to create their own rules for Survivors mode. They tried to, like, play Survivors mode in a particular way, but it just ended up being like quickscoping from Call of Duty. Like, they wanted to make that a standard, so they wanted to make an already shit mode into another shit mode, basically, with quickscoping from Call of Duty, and Call of Duty's multiplayer in general just inspires a lot of toxicity. And quickscoping in general is just a kind of restriction that you put upon yourself when playing with friends or other people that just causes people to have a very inflated ego, and I've dealt with people like that. I've even been friends with people like that before, and they've always been assholes. They have always been assholes. And that's why I just left that friend entirely. But it's just, there are so many flaws in people's arguments when they're trying to defend Ninja Gaiden to the ends of the earth. And then you have people, like, there are people on my channel, for instance, like, I got comments from people who stumbled upon my channel saying, like, why don't you just play Ninja Gaiden? I'm just like, why would I do that? And it's like, why not? Really? So you want to really start this kind of argument with me? These are the kind of people that you come across all the time who are so blindly devoted to Ninja Gaiden. Like, Ninja Gaiden has the most blind devotees by far. Almost like they're in a cult, for instance. It's like a cult classic, pretty much. This is what it feels like. But, like, there is such a peer pressure created by all these people that play Ninja Gaiden with additional restrictions that just leads to a sense of inferiority in everyone they target. Like, if you are so easily, like, affected by these people that do no damage, you're gonna have that sense of inferiority if you feel that your playstyle isn't good enough, and you'll try to put yourself through that same kind of ordeal that those people go through. And at that point, it's like you're not even enjoying the game, pretty much. And then there are just a couple more of these side comments that I made about Ninja Gaiden. Because Ninja Gaiden relies upon gamey designs like a huge abundance of iframes, this psychologically leads the developers to make the enemies absurd in their capabilities, and they don't put a leash on that creativity, so it leads to a shit show. Like, imagine if they designed Ninja Gaiden without so many iframes. Let's see the developers operate with that parameter in mind when designing their enemies. Let's see how balanced the game is then. Let's see how well designed this game is according to all these fans who don't understand the whole idea of well designed, or they just have this kind of blind loyalty to Ninja Gaiden. Let's see how well designed the game is, and they'll probably still call it a challenge because they're that delusional, and they think that a broken game is somehow serviceable for a proper challenge. Like, how dense do you have to be to make these kind of statements? It's the same kind of people that comment on my Resident Evil Village videos, and they're asking me why I'm bothering with no damage when it's clearly not something listed as a trophy. But it's like, how can you stand there and look at these fights and call them good? How can you support new Capcom's new design philosophies with their enemies, and with their mechanics, and with their bosses, and with their section designs? It's just on a similar degree with the Ninja Gaiden community, pretty much. Like, maybe then they'll actually put the hard work into the game if they actually design Ninja Gaiden with those parameters in mind. The iframes and other gaming designs on your character are just cheap excuses for the developers to do less work in refining their enemies and their game's pacing. And there are so many moments in Ninja Gaiden where you're dealing with like IS ninjas just spamming like explosive shurikens, rocket launcher guys in Ninja Gaiden 3, alchemists in Ninja Gaiden 3. All these other ninjas just throwing crap at you with shurikens, and so many of them just spamming grab like crazy, and then you're having to be so reliant upon iframes. You're spamming iframes to win, pretty much. Like, that's not skillful play at all. Like, a developer is actually going to deliver a well-designed experience that's actually fun if they actually create an engaging experience without the need for iframes. That's what Evil Within accomplished greatly. And I know someone's going to be like, oh, Evil Within is a third-person shooter, not like Ninja Gaiden's like hack 'em and slash 'em style genre gaming, but it's still the same mentalities. Genre is an independent variable in that case. What the fuck are you talking about right there? I mean, seriously. I mean, and I know if, like, someone is going to make, like, a college essay calling me shit, just like Tynar did when he was discussing the whole, or not really discussing, when he was just trying to put me in my place, when I was doing my first video for Let's Shit on Resident Evil Village, the developers, and the fan base by doing Knives Out on Village of Shadows difficulty. Like, everything Tynar said was just, like, what the fuck am I reading? And I can't believe any normal human being can think like Tynar can. And I can't believe any normal human being would just defend Ninja Gaiden to the ends of the earth and just try to say that, oh, it's a huge exception, it's so different to other games out there, when it doesn't look that different to the likes of God of War, for instance. And its design philosophies, they aren't so easily, like, considered an outlier in the standard norm for how you judge games or how you design games. Like, this critique I am giving to Ninja Gaiden right now falls within, like, the standard of actually judging games. At least the real way, not like the fake standard that so many fans have decided to set upon themselves with all these, like, fake criticisms that you hear. Like, IGN's so unreliable, GameSpot's so unreliable because it never analyzed these games on an objective level to really see the fundamental problems that actually compromise the overall game experience. It's like what I got with Dying Light 2, for instance. Just so many objective flaws with Dying Light 2 and how much of a bore that was. But, like, it's a very similar thought process with the likes of Ninja Gaiden. But let's continue on. Other side comments I've made. People praise Ninja Gaiden for its violent animations, but you repeat the same animations over and over again because of the sheer number of enemies that they eventually lose value. Practically makes the game feel like a rated T game. Yeah, like, so many people are just praising the violence in Ninja Gaiden, and, like, some critics have done so as well, but, like, when it's happening so frequently, when you become so numb to it after, like, a couple of minutes, and it's not like it's easy to see a lot of those violent animations. Can you really consider it a rated M game at that point? Like, they become so forgettable, like any other knockdown animation in a rated T game, for instance, or any kind of enemy you kill in a rated T game. Yeah, they lose all sense of value in their violence, but that has nothing to do with what I was discussing earlier. But I just decided to point that out. But I'll talk more about this when I get the chance, because I do have, like, 2 more side comments to make.